Hi, welcome back to this episode of StackStorm Deep Dive. Today, in this episode, we are going to talk about rules. Now, rules are an important part of StackStorm because they are waiting for a trigger to happen or a trigger to become hot. And once that does, the rule looks in its body and finds out what action it needs to go wake up. So that's the important piece of the rule. Let's take a look at how all this put together.
Okay, rules. StackStorm has rules. And rules are pretty simple things. They're just a rule that says, hey, if this event happens, if this trigger becomes true, and I have some criteria, maybe I can go do this action. And we can walk through it really simple here. So this is if this, then that. So if this happens, if this event happens, then go do this action. That's the rule that ties it together. So we start with the description, a real simple thing. Just put whatever you want in there to make it, readable and knowable to people that are going to use it. Now, this enabled, you can have this true, and so when you load your pack, this rule will become active right away. I don't like to do that. I leave these set to false. That way I can turn them on when I want to start testing. We also give this a name, and then we associate this trigger. So this trigger here, the packet could the pack could be whatever you're calling it, right? So if you're calling it Swappy, I put Swappy in there. So that's the pack name that this rule is associated to. That way, when you do SD2 cuddle reload, it all lines up. So the trigger is I'm using this interval timer that's part of the core integration pack. It's native to StackStorm, and I'm using just the interval timer action out of it, and I'm telling it every 60 seconds is this part of it. So every 60 seconds happens, this trigger becomes true, and if there's any criteria, I'm going to take that into consideration as well, and then I'm going to run this action. And this action is the then that part. So if this happens, then go do that. It's really simple. Now, this action could be a whole bunch of stuff. This action could be go run an individual action or go run a workflow of 100 actions. So that's really the power here of the if this then that. The rule sets that up. And you can see here I'm going to feed triggered and the execution time it was triggered. I'm going to feed that to this echo, and I'm just going to run a local command and echo this to the command line. Okay, so that's rules in a nutshell. They're not very complex, but we're going to use them to actually get based upon a trigger, an interval timer, or a sensor, or whatever. And if that becomes true, we're going to go do whatever the action says. Rules. Okay? Stay tuned and we'll catch you in the next chapter.